hate to start. Hey, thank you guys for being here. We're super excited to have you guys here. I think that we need more stuff like this, you know? People coming out after work, after church, after whatever you do, and just meet other people that are just in creativity, that are just curious about where's the creative community in my town. Now, San Antonio, you've heard people maybe say this, that it's a big little city. We're a city that is about culture, we're about community, but I think that sometimes like creatives get lost in that somewhere, and we want to be able to find you, we want to be able to let you know there's a community for you, and that is SA Creatives, that is the Rise movement. And so at SA Creatives, we do have a podcast called the Visioneer Podcast. So what is a Visioneer? So I believe that creatives are important. They're an important part of every aspect of life. But I think you need people that also cast vision, right? And so when you can get one and the same, we believe that's a visioneer. That's a creative who can cast vision, who has community at their heart, who just wants to lead and take their city to another level. And I truly believe that creatives are at the forefront of that. And so we have a few visioneers here today, and I'm super excited to have our panel here. I'm super excited that you guys are here to hear some of their story, some of how they create, but also some of the community that they're a part of as well. And so for further ado, I want them to introduce yourselves, say a little about what you do, who you are, where you're from, and what you're passionate about. So not everybody at once, right? We'll go ahead. We'll start with you. Check.
So my name is Robbie Sanchez. I am the owner and creator of Wonder Chamber, which is an interactive and immersive experience. We've been in business for a little over 5 years now. Started as a selfie museum where you just go in and take pictures, but it's kind of evolved into more of a escape from reality and just get immersed in art and technology. I'm also on staff at my church called Watershed Church. I started as the creative and music director. I still do that, but I'm also now the executive pastor of the church. So I do that full-time. I have a lot of full-time jobs and ministries like that. And I also do some stuff on the side where I design and fabricate custom work for different organizations and companies here in town. So that's me.
Awesome. So I'm nowhere as cool as he is. So I don't have I only have one full-time job. So that's it. But I do have 4 little kids. So I guess that's 2 full-time jobs there. My name is Danielle Torrez, and I am from Nashville, Tennessee. Moved to San Antonio like right before the pandemic. So I'm really just getting to know the city and know the creatives here. In Nashville, I've always been surrounded by creatives, grew up in the music industry, and worked for several record labels as a director of marketing. So just had a big hand in, if you know about Nashville, it's kind of like in Austin, like a huge epicenter for creativity, but it wasn't always like that. So I was blessed to see it really become that. And so I'm excited to be here in San Antonio and bring some of that same passion for creativity that I had in Nashville here to this city.
My name is Ed, pastor at Community Bible Church, and originally from Orlando, Florida, and moved here 8 years ago. So yeah, honored. Thank y'all for coming tonight. Can y'all hear me okay? I think a little bit of the sound is off, but just want to say thank you for being here. Grateful that y'all will come and hang out. So yeah, that's it. I got 4 kids. My wife and I have been married almost 26 years. So thank you for the clap. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So I know, I don't know if Robbie did mention, but Robbie is a pretty new dad of twins. So he did 2 at the same time. He's like, just put it out there. So they're awesome. So I guess another thing, so Robbie is my cousin. Our moms are sisters. And honestly, like a lot of the creativity that I do and I see, I've gotten inspired from my little cousin, And I think that family can do that to you sometimes. So let's get right into it. Our first segment that I want to talk about is defining and understanding community, right? That can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But what I focus on and what we do at SA Creatives is we try to find that community, but the community that a creative can thrive in, right? So what does a community mean, right? How are you guys fostering a community for creatives? And basically, I know everybody does different roles here, and that's why I'm hoping to get a lot of different answers from you. So, maybe we'll start with you, Robbie, right? At Wonder Chamber, you have a community. You've grown a community, people that come out and experience what you've built. And by the way, guys, Wonder Chamber, they survived during the pandemic, and that was not an easy thing to do. There was a lot of other, pop-up museums and things that were here in San Antonio that just couldn't figure out, but Robbie adapted very well, and I saw him do that in real time, and I know it was really hard, but he's created a community and a culture. So Robbie, tell me a little bit about, the community that you've created at Wonder Chamber and why they keep on coming back.
I think that we've created, also my dad is my business partner, so it's both of us together, working together. So that has its own merit, working with family. But we've created a safe place here in San Antonio where creatives, whether it's photographers, models, we've had a lot of artists come in to shoot music videos and promote their records. But I feel like we've created a safe place for people to come and express themselves. There's a lot of different ways that you can go out and have fun, right? You can go to bars, you can go to the movies, but I feel like our place is so special in that it's always a positive experience. We've had people come in that just feel terrible. They don't want to be there. It's like, hey, my girlfriend just dragged me here. I don't want to take any pictures or whatever. And throughout their experience there, they just kind of let loose, relax, and they just start enjoying themselves. And so I feel like because we've been authentic, because we've put God first, we've seen that people come and they have an incredible time. They love what they see, and they feel free to express themselves, to create. A lot of things that we have there are interactive, so you can create your own experience. It's not always the same for every person. But yeah, it's been a really big blessing for us to be able to be a beacon of creativity in Central San Antonio, and we love seeing people come back. We've had a lot of people come to each season. I'll recognize some people at the door and be like, hey, I've seen you a few times before. So yeah, we're super blessed. Danielle?
Yeah, so Jarrell mentioned it earlier, but I'm part of the RISE board. So when I first got involved with RISE, I was like, what do you mean, creative communities? Like, what do you do? Like, what is that exactly? And as I've grown in the board and understood RISE, I see the importance of getting creatives together and giving them a home, giving them a place where they belong, a place where they can grow, like artistically and spiritually. It's so important to feel connected as a creative. But one of the conversations that we're having as a board is, now what, right? So you have people, they're getting strengthened, they're making music, they're making art, they're, photographers, videographers, whatever it is. But how do we give them a place in the city now? So we've given them a group, a community of people, and now how do we prepare other people to hear their art, to platform them? So some of you guys may know we're doing a festival in October, just announced. Very excited about that. And that's really one of the answers to that question. Yes, creative community, but then what? Because artists need a place for their art to be seen and heard.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing for us is our church had to make a decision. Are we just going to hire everybody to do the work of the ministry? So we made a major paradigm shift in our marketing creative space to where we now bring somebody in on our team that is the best talent scout, if I could use that. It finds the people. We have a process where people come to our church. They go to what's called Welcome Home. They express different interests. If it's creative, then we meet with them, find out what that is. And I'm super excited to be able to say that we used to hire all of our photographers. So it's like a contract of some sort, or we have some on our staff. But today we have 100 volunteers that are photographers, not just camera, but also social media. So what we had to do is we had to take a marketing department, and Danielle, this is more of your speed here, is we had a marketing department that did everything for all the ministries. So they would fill out a form. This is what you're looking for. Well, now the ministry, we put that responsibility back on the ministries and said, here's a list of volunteers that you can use. So now that person that's on our team is basically fielding and getting to know the creatives and then rightly assigning them. And it's a thrill to watch people exercise their spiritual gift, and not just in the gathering, but a senior adult luncheon at something that sometimes is not just in. There's so many other spaces than just the worship gathering. And I think oftentimes people that want to exercise their gift, there's always this idea of this is the only place I could do this. So our goal is to help connect other creatives in other spaces. We've done that really well in marketing. I just think there's another space. There's another level of creatives that we have to figure out how to engage.
I definitely agree. Now,
Hold it.
a lot of people that start off doing photography, myself included, I started out in church. I got a camera for like a Black Friday deal, point and shoot, nothing fancy, anybody can use it. My pastor saw that I got that camera. He said, can you take pictures at our church on Sunday? I said, why? I don't know what I'm doing. He goes, just do it. And I did it. I used this fancy feature. It was called a panoramic. And I took a series of photos and I stitched the stage together. Well, that was right when Facebook started using the cover photos, and he put it as his cover photo, and everybody was like, oh my goodness, is this our church? Oh, this looks great. And he was tagging me, and people were like, you did a great job. And I'm like, hey, look, I just stitched some photos together and pressed the shutter. But then I realized, wait a second, this makes me feel really good, because I wasn't preaching at that church. I wasn't really doing much, but I felt like now I'm doing something that is actually growing the church. And I felt like I was a part of something bigger. And so that next year came, income tax season came, and I bought a better camera. Then people were like, wait a second, you take photos now? I'm like, no, but yes. And I went up to him and I said, hey, look, all these people want me to take their photos now. What do I do? And he said a few things to me. He says, do you like what you do? I said, yes. He says, can you do it for a living? I said, I would love to do this for a living. He said, well, then go to the courthouse, get your DBA, and make a business. And that's what I did. But it did start at a church, and it started at a place because there was a need, right? And I think today more than ever, churches need creatives, because the message has stayed the same, and it should stay the same, but the delivery, it needs to change. And it's changing, but creatives are a part of that change. And I will say, there's a couple of people that come to SA Creatives that serve at your church, and I've known them before they came to SA Creatives, and I know them before they started going to your church, and they said, look, I found a church that has given me the opportunity to do what I love, but do it at the highest level. And that's what I love what you guys do at CBC, because you do give creatives a place to create. It just gets me excited to know that there are leaders and pastors that have that mindset, that know that there's a need and there's a want, but also that just goes to show that people just want to serve in some capacity at some level. And it gets me excited as a photographer, as that's all that I needed. That's all that some people just need to feel like they're plugged in, but also they're part of growing the kingdom. So I love that. Cool. So I do want to talk. I know we shared some examples, right, of what community looks like, what building. Now, what are some of the obstacles do you think that come with building that community, finding that community. What's some of the, I guess, the walls that you've come across in building a beautiful creative community in what you guys do?
When it comes to community and artistry, there can be a lot of competition, and it's something that often stops us from really being open in community about both the wins that we're having in our art and the failures that we're having. So, yeah, that's just a big one for me.
So I guess I'll put my church hat on now. For our creative team, I think one of the challenges is keeping them inspired. Our church is not super big, and our team is excellent in what they do, but when you have a small team, you can really quickly reach like a burnout phase, or things can get very mundane and kind of routine. And so, and Gabriel knows this because we work together at the church, is that we have to try to inspire our team to keep going, to keep using their talents and their gifts to further the kingdom. And sometimes that's hard. We go through phases where it's like, oh, rehearsal again, right? Or Sunday morning. We added 2 services last year, and I remember bringing that up to the teams, and it was like, do we really need it in the second service? Do we need to wake up earlier for this? And it's like, guys, we gotta think outside of ourselves, right? We're doing this for a purpose, but with that creativity, we've been able to reach a whole new community through our second service. And so I think just inspiring them, leading them well is a challenge sometimes, but it's definitely worth it after you put the seed in the ground and then you see what's being reaped, right? What the harvest is. It makes it worth it, and that alone inspires us as creatives.
I agree. I definitely agree, and I want to talk about being authentic and how important that is. I think in the world that we live in, there's a lot of content. There's a lot of things that we're looking at our phones. There's so many creatives everywhere. But how important is it to be authentic? Because all creativity to me is just showing homage to another creative, because there's nothing new under the sun. It's been done before. But I think to be truly creative or a true artist, you do it in a way that makes it unique to you. And I think that's important. So how important is it to be authentic in your community or in that creativity?
This is tough. I'll just say, for me, this one is tough. I love authenticity, but it also comes with vulnerability, which I find difficult. When you're creative, your heart is completely tied to the art that you're showing the world. So doing it authentically and taking that mask off and saying, here's what's on the inside of me, do you like it? It's almost like you're offering it to the world, and they can reject it. People can say really harsh things, especially in the days of social media. But what I've found personally, and what I love to tell others, honestly, is that authenticity is still worth it. It's still worth the possibility of rejection. And the more you can dig down and actually become more you, not a carbon copy of someone else, but it's almost like the more you can look at your creator and say, hey, how did you make me? What did you put inside me? Who did you make me to be? How can I reflect you best to the world? And that imaging God, like when you're doing that authentically and realizing that whatever you put out, like, hey, if this is what God put in me, maybe the world loves it, maybe they don't, but I can't live for the applause of the world. I have to live as a reflection of God's image to the world.
I agree. I 100% agree. That's incredible.
I don't know if we could add anything to that. So just double click on that. As a creative, your heart is on the table. And if you're not careful in the space of criticism and the longing for the like or the longing for somebody to value me, you can actually become, and this is what Danielle's speaking to, you can actually step into what's called imposter syndrome. and then you could try to live out an expectation that everybody else has placed on yourself, or unauthentically become somebody you are never intended to be. Therefore, not bringing your gift to the conversation and withholding it because of the fact that you face criticism. So the only way that you can never face criticism is to not create. But that's not an option. But criticism can make you become somebody that you never thought you would be. And if you're not careful, then you start designing and writing for the applause. And then at that moment, then you've lost the very gifting of what God asked you to bring into the conversation. So I think what Danielle was speaking to is the heart of the issue. Is that if you choose to put something in creativity into this conversation, you have to be okay with the fact that this is your expression of worship. Because if you're not careful, you'll take the gifting that God gave you in the space of creativity and you'll make it the object of your worship. So you have to begin from acceptance, because if not, then you will sell out a lot of your creativity for the fact of somebody tell me that I matter. And then you become unauthentically yourself. You'll take on imposter syndrome. You'll seek to create for the applause of people, and it's no different than a golden calf.
Yeah. Very, very well said. Very, very well said. And I think, that's something that can go across the board, more than just creatives, just in general. Anything you do in life, you could be doing it to just start pleasing other people than God. So very, very well said. I want to talk a little bit about, before we get into a Q&A, we'll have a few moments for that. But I want to talk about embracing diversity. I think today more than ever, it's important that we become diverse in everything we do, in the art we create, but also in the people that we let into our circle, but also the people that we serve. I think that the moment that we start serving one kind of creative or one kind of community, we miss out on the purpose and on the plan for our lives, but also the lives of the people around us. And so, how important is it in the communities that you are around, the communities that you've built, the creatives that you even hang out with, how important is it to be diverse in your everyday walk with other creatives or in the communities that you're building? Is that important? How important is that?
I think that's what makes us sharper, and it also, hanging around or being in a diverse community is where we can find other passions, other strengths, right? Because if you're hanging around, 5 people who play keyboard only, then you're probably just going to keep playing the piano. But if you hang out with a keyboardist, a guitarist, a drummer, and y'all are, having jam sessions, then maybe you'll pick up a new talent. Maybe you'll take interest in something else. And so I think diversity is important as a creative because you might tap into something else that God's trying to bring to you. But if you don't put yourself in those communities, then you might be missing out on what He has for you.
Well, very, very well said. I want to finish up here, and I want to say thank you, first of all, for all of your insights on all of these questions, and we could probably talk for hours on this if I'm being honest. But I do want to open up for a little Q&A. Before the Q&A, though, I have something that I want to do that's kind of fun. There's a game that I play at my business with some of my employees when we're just bored or we have no creativity or we just want to get to know each other. So it's a really cool game. It's called We're Not Really Strangers, okay? It's a card game, and there's no rules, there's no way to win. The only way to win is to grow. Basically, just learn more about each other. So, do you want to read your card?
Oh, yeah. Okay. What do my shoes tell you about me?
Oh, okay. Let's see. We got some clean shoes there. I like it. I think, first, you have style, you have good taste, and shoes are a huge part of your outfit. That's what I feel your shoes are saying about you right now.
nice. You should have gotten this question.
I know,
You're,
right?
you're the shoe guy, not me.
Man, Pastor Ed should have got this.
Well, first of all, they're creased. So it's creased, which speaks of they're clean, but creased, which means that you use them. So you're all about style, but you got to have some comfort. You want to have heat on the feet, but it's got to be comfortable because you are, with them 4 babies, busy.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's pretty close. I think these are, they are non-name brand. They are creased, so they're clean, but they're comfy. And
You can crease them.
yeah, I mean, when you have 4 kids and they're little kids and they're stepping on your toes, I have twins too. They're all over, this is my husband Gabe, they're all over our feet. So we don't, right now, we're not buying expensive stuff. We're in the baby phase, or toddler phase.
Okay, for sure.
I'll read my card.
Okay, we got one more.
Is there a feeling you miss?
Oh.
A feeling you miss?
Do you want to take that one first?
I answer it?
Yeah, you can answer it. We can answer it individually.
I would say, and just, my kids are going to be 2, so it's been such a joy watching them grow, but I think innocence, just watching them, just their faces light up at everything, the joy in their eyes when I make them laugh, right? That innocence that I felt as a child, I really miss that. And it's not something you get back, but I feel like I'm reliving that through my kids. So, yeah.
I have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions really quick. Take no more longer than 5 minutes. If anybody wants to ask a question, you can come grab my mic.
A question for Robbie from Wonder Chamber. I've shot multiple music videos there throughout the seasons, and I really appreciate that space you make. What keeps you inspired to make the different rooms at Wonder Chamber? Like, what keeps the creativity going and like through each season?
That's a tough question, because the things that we create there have to last for a long time. So it's a lot of pressure to try to get it right, and like we were talking about, whether people are going to like it, whether people are not going to like it, whether it's going to last through all of the abuse that people, put it through. But I would say I get my inspiration from photography. I've done photography on the side as well. And so just being able to visualize things. I follow different artists on Instagram, right? Or YouTube videos of different projects that are going up around the world. You kind of take bits and pieces of that and make it your own. But it is a hard thing to do, and I'm glad that you keep coming back.
John Payne here. I had a question for you guys. We've been talking a lot about that word creative, and I'm wondering, because people talk about it like as there's like 2 camps. There's everybody's a creative, or is it there's a certain type of person that's a creative? And I'm wondering what y'all's perspective is on that word, and can y'all offer some clarity as far as how y'all think about that term, since we're talking about serving creatives?
Yeah, that's a great question. I hear this question all the time, by the way, because people like to tell me, you're a creative. And I'm like, I'm a creative in that God gave me a creative ability. But I'm not a creative in that my heart burns for creating some sort of art. It doesn't, it really doesn't. I'm creative adjacent. So I love getting groups of creatives together to produce something amazing in the world. But I'm not in there like, oh my gosh, and then we could, unless you ask me, I'm gonna have an opinion. But I introduced my husband Gabe. Now, he is a creative, like literally a creative. And what I mean by that is he feels everything very passionately when he has an idea. Whatever he's focused on, he's all in, and it's just everything to him, that emotional connection to art, which I love art, but I don't feel it in the same way. So there's people who can create cool stuff, and then there are creatives, in my opinion.
I love this conversation. I think that it's needed. I think that it's fruitful. Me personally, and Gabriel, you fit in this as well. I run into a lot of people who are creatives who have walked away from the organized church, right? And a lot of times they've done that for several reasons, right? Because they feel used, or they feel, all of these different kind of things. And they're also thinking outside of the box when it comes to spirituality and all of that kind of stuff. And so I think that creatives speak the language of other creators. Artists speak the language of other artists. So I like to ask the question, how, from your vantage point, and there's so many vantage points here. I mean, I love the fact that you have a photo place where it's not a church at all, right? But you're still being good news to people who really want that kind of thing, and I love that. You know what I mean? So how, from your vantage point, how can we encourage creatives to not just be inside of the organized church, and how can we reach out to them where they are and inspire them to reach out to other people who may never even step inside of a church?
Yeah, I think this is really important. We do have SA Creatives, but I actually have a business. It's a creative agency where we focus on brand strategy, brand story, and content creation for other businesses or organizations. So what I think is important, and that's why we call it the Visioneers Podcast, is you need leaders. You need leaders that are creatives to help lead. I think there are some creatives that just want to create, but then there's people that want to do more, and to me that's a Visioneer, because creatives, I feel they move things around really well, they keep things going, but a Visioneer moves things forward. And if they can understand each other and understand that they need each other, that's when you create a space for growth. And so what's important is people that lead that thing, that lead that creativity, and be able to create a space where, look, I get it, you don't want to own a business, you don't want that stress, and I don't think a lot of people need that stress, right? But I will say that there are people that just want to create with you, and those are the people that I love to have work with me and beside me, because I can deal with, hey, here's the next job, we're doing this, we're doing that, but then, guys, I need you. I can't do this by myself. Sometimes my brain's just a little slow, and it's creating things that I've already created. I need new ideas. So I truly feel that in order to do that, to have that space, you need leaders that are making that space for creatives.
Yeah, for sure. That's good. Wow. Well, guys, like Gabriel said, we could be just sitting here talking all day, and we want to definitely respect your time. But thank you to the panelists. Can y'all give the panelists a hand clap? Thank you to Robbie and Danielle and Pastor Ed and Gabriel with SA Creatives as well.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. The next Creative Nights will be on July 27th. We'll do another live podcast. The title of that is Community-Driven Content. So how can we create content that's actually driving the community? So thank you to our guests once again.